welcome back to the eHunter podcast. My name's Taryn Hunt. I'll be your host for this episode. Got a great episode again for you guys this week. Hope you guys are enjoying these episodes, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to us. On today's podcast, I have Logan Bullough, and if you've been on the website lately, you've probably read several articles that Logan has written. Logan's an interesting story. So he didn't become a hunter or get into the hunting hobby, sport, whatever you want to call it, until he was an adult. And so super exciting for him to get into this. He's only been at it for a little while, but he shares the stories with us today. He also shares how he got into this and what drove him, and also shares some tips for anybody that's looking to get into hunting. Really good tips that if you're looking to get into this obsession that we call hunting, he shares some pretty cool ways to do that. So excited about this podcast. Before we jump into it, as always, we want to thank our sponsors, Vortex Optics, for sponsoring everything that we do here at eHunter. Vortex is an amazing partner of ours. They do so much good for not only us, but for a lot of people in the community. So we want to thank them. Make sure and check them out, vortexoptics.com. We'll have some more reviews coming out here pretty soon of some new products, so stay tuned for those on our YouTube page. If you're not subscribed to it, make sure and get subscribed to it. Also want to thank Grim Reaper Broadheads for sponsoring the podcast this month. We put up a post on social media about them, and man, it's crazy the feedback that we got on them. Pretty deadly broadheads, and I want to be honest, I have not used them in the past. Definitely making that switch and excited to make that switch. So if you're a Grim Reaper guy, let us know your thoughts on them, and we'd love to take that feedback to Grim Reaper themselves. So appreciate them and for all their support for the podcast as well. So, and guys, just real quick, make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast, whatever platform you're listening to this on, and we just appreciate the support that you guys are giving us. So please continue to support us. Please remember to share the podcast around with your friends, family, anybody that you think would be interested in the podcast. It just helps us out a ton. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this podcast that I do with Logan Bullough. And again, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out and ask those questions. So thanks, guys.
Good bad.
Yep, that's story of my life, man. Story of my life.
Yeah.
Well, man, I don't want to keep you too long, but I wanted to record this podcast and talk through some of this because we posted that article up on the website that you wrote, and we've had a lot of interest in it. And I don't know if Seth's gone over the analytics with you, but a lot of people really got involved in that, and we put it on Facebook, and people shared it around, and it's interesting how many people didn't start hunting until they were an adult. And so I'm excited to talk to you about this and your story.
Oh, that's cool. I did not know that. Seth had not told me any of that. So.
Oh yeah, it's and it's interesting. There's a lot of people, as you read through some of the comments of how many people started hunting within the last year, and I don't know if it's because of COVID that started that whole process, or if it's just kind of the way the world's going. But yeah, there's a lot of people that started hunting within the last year, so it's good. We need more people in this industry.
Oh, I agree. I definitely agree. We need more people out there doing good things.
Yeah, definitely. I wish we could. I guess I'm torn because the more people that are hunting,
things where yeah, you want people hunting because it gives good things to the name, but then at the same time it's like more people to attack, compete with. And
exactly. I'm okay with that, though. Honestly, I'm okay with competing against people. We're kind of used to that, in the hunting world, and so I would rather have more people in my corner fighting for the rights that I want and I enjoy, that rather than I'll wait an extra year or two, I guess is what I'm saying, to draw a tag if I have more people in my corner.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
So, well, cool, man. Well, let's jump into you. And just kind of talk about so for those that are listening, we posted this article on June 18th, and like I said, Logan is actually the one that wrote this article, and there's a sweet picture of you and your mule deer that you shot. But before we get, because I want you to tell me that story and how that went down. But before we get to that point, I want to hear There's a section on why you started hunting, and that's gonna be my first question for you, man. Like, what got you into this crazy expensive world that is hunting?
Man, you weren't kidding about the expensive part. That was that was something that was kind of almost a shock to me. That it's like you can't really cheap out and expect to get very far.
No,
That's for sure.
no, you can't. Jeff
But
didn't tell you that to begin with, huh?
no, he did not. But no, so growing up, like I always had friends that hunted. And I was always hearing their stories about hunting, and I always liked watching those hunting shows growing up and things. I always just thought they were really cool, and I just always thought, man, like that would be so cool to have a story of my own to do that. And then when I met my wife, I found out that she came from a family of hunters. Um, her her brother is really into bow hunting. Her dad bow hunts. Her grandfather super into hunting. Like he's gone to Africa and hunted Africa. He's gone to British Columbia and Alaska and all over the country hunting. And so marrying into the family, it kind of just gave me that opportunity to start. Gave me a jumping off point of, okay, I've always wanted to try this. Well, here's the girl that you're marrying, and she hunts and her family knows how to hunt. Like, here's a good opportunity to start. And that's kind of where it all started, gave me my first opportunity to actually start hunting.
That's a pretty sweet deal. If it's your wife and her family that got you into hunting, dude, you're already started on the right step, because that's the biggest challenge, is getting over the wife part of it, because they always want you
Right.
home, and then going back to the expense thing, they don't like that part very much. But man, if she's been in it, I did the same thing. um I
Yeah.
came, my wife came from a whole line of hunters. She hunted her whole life, so she knew what she was getting into with me. But man, that's a step in the right direction there. It starting with a wife that's into hunting.
Oh, for sure. And it's definitely, I think definitely helped. That's for sure. And my first hunting experience, not actually my own hunt, but the first time I ever actually went hunting, was my brother-in-law had an archery tag. And I got to kind of buddy along with him. And man, I'll tell you, I was hooked. Like, from that first time, I only went out with him for a day and a half, I think is what it was. And dude, yeah, bow hunting that's what got me hooked. Like, just stalking a deer with him and following him around. Like, that was pretty awesome.
Dude, that's honestly what it's about. I love archery hunting. I mean, I love all hunting, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to go archery hunting and not love it. And what's funny is you look at these people like, like the Joe Rogans of the world, or some of these guys that are just new into hunting, and that's really what got them hooked on hunting, was archery hunting, because it's so much fun. You can't help but love it.
Oh yeah, and it's such a different beast than rifle. I mean, so I do rifle tag. That's what I put in for.
Nice.
Um, but man, bow hunting is there's just something about being able to get in close to an animal. You don't see blaze orange all over the mountain.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's just something, being able to stalk in close on an animal, even if it's just something that you're not hunting, just even like a doe or something. And if you can get in close to that and that animal doesn't know you're there, like it's just a whole cool experience.
Oh yeah.
That, I mean, you have to do it to really appreciate it. I mean, it's amazing, and going back to those shows, you grow up watching. And even now, I'll watch a lot of like Tom Miranda videos and Steven Ranella videos and things. And
Mm-hmm.
even watching those guys, like you can't really appreciate what it's like to archery hunt something and be successful until you've gone out and done it. And it is awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're so right. It's funny. I always use the word intimate, which probably is the wrong word to use for it, but it's the only word that I can use to explain, like what you're talking about, when you can get in close to an animal. If you're within 20 yards of an animal, a big game, whether that's elk, deer, bear, whatever, that's close. Not many people get
Oh
that
yeah.
close unless you're in Yellowstone or something like that, and they'll come and eat out of your hand or something. But that's different. These are wild animals that are scared to death of you. They don't want to be anywhere near you because you're the ultimate
Yeah.
predator coming after them. And you've got the skills and ability to sneak in that close on something that's, has a radar like those things always have on. Like that's cool. That it's hard to beat that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, your heart gets pounding, and I mean, when you can sit there and you can watch an animal blink and you can see its pupils like that, it's a pretty cool experience.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I said, even if it's something you're not hunting, a couple of years ago, I was with one of my other brother-in-laws trying to help him fill his first rifle tag. He's just a teenager, and I was off kind of trying to scout up some deer for him. And I mean, I was getting within 20, 30 yards of a couple of bull elk. And I mean, I just sat there and watched them because it was just so cool to be that close.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I do it all the time. I'll sneak in on animals. Like every year during the rut, whether I've got an elk tag in my pocket or not, I'll go out and call elk and see how close I can get to them. Just to practice my skills for one, but two, it's just
Oh,
there's
definitely.
no cooler experience than having an elk bugling at you 5 feet away.
Oh, definitely. Well, and like you said, like intimate, I think is the perfect word to describe it, because it's just you're getting an experience that very few people actually get.
Yeah,
To get up close to a big game animal like that it's something else.
it really truly is. It's special. And for those that are listening to the podcast and haven't done it, um, you need to try it because it really is life changing. Something that you will not forget. I can promise you that. And you know, if rifle hunting's your thing, because I'm a rifle hunter too. I do anything and everything I possibly can get a tag for. It's amazing. I mean, it's
Oh
still
yeah.
fun getting it within 200-300 yards of a deer or an elk or whatever, and harvesting that. But I love your story, Logan, and that archery hunting is really what really did it, because it is intimate, whether right word or not, it is what it is. And something, like I said, it's something that you will never ever forget. Hey,
No, definitely.
tell me about, so in the article you talked about the trial hunting program here in Utah, and I don't think there's
Hmm.
a lot of people that are familiar with that. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that, and like what you had to do for it, and what it is?
Yeah, definitely. And I like that you brought up, like, I'm actually surprised at how many people don't know
Yeah.
what the trial hunting program is. And so the reason I found that out is, so again, my wife's family hunts. They were always putting in for the hunts and different things, and well, I was like, well, I want to do that, and I want to go hunting. I want to try it out, and I knew that I had to take hunter safety. And I grew up around firearms. We went shooting all the time growing up and different things, and I understood the basics. Shoot behind the shoulder, things like that. Don't point a gun at people, things. But I
Hmm.
really wanted to try hunting, and so I was trying to find a hunter safety class near where I live, and I could not find anything that was anywhere near. I was going to have to drive. I think the closest one was going to be 2.5 hours away,
Oh wow.
um, for the only class that was going to be offered for me. And so I was getting really bummed out. And then on Utah's DWR website, I just happened to like see there was like a link or something on the side of the page that had some little blurb about, can't take hunter safety, try this or something along those lines. And so I clicked on it, and it opened to a window talking about Utah's trial hunting program. And so for those that don't know what the trial hunting program is, and I don't know if other states have it, but here in Utah, especially for people like me that started hunting as an adult, if you want to give hunting a try, what it does is it allows you 3 years to put in for big game tags. You can put in for deer and elk. You can't do any limited entries. But if you want to put in for big game, you can do deer and elk, and it allows you to put in for 3 years without taking hunter safety. I did have to take, there's like a little quick online quiz, basically, going over firearm safety and, explaining this, you need to know what you hunt, you need to know what your regulations are, and and then it was just like, okay, there you go. You're in the program. And so that's where I got my start is that trail hunting program. And so yeah, that gave me 3 years to put in for a hunt without having to take hunter safety beforehand. And I put in for 3 years, and I drew out on my second of those 3 years, and that was the only year I drew out on my trail hunter.
Oh man, dang Utah and their draw program.
I was so bummed, especially that first year. I was like, you kidding me? Like, you're sitting here trying to get new hunters, and here I am, a trial hunter program, and I don't even draw out my first year.
Yeah, that should be like a guarantee. You know, the first year of your trial hunting program should be like, all right, yeah, we're just going to give you this tag. Like, it should be guaranteed.
Right. That was my thought. I was honestly like expecting, like, oh yeah, like I put in for this trial hunting, like Utah wants me to hunt, they're going to give me a tag, and then that first year came around and no tag.
They're going to teach you what it is to really be a Western hunter.
That's exactly. They're really going to show you, yeah, you want to hunt big game? Well, here's a lot of waiting.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. That's a cool program, though. And there are other states that do like hunter mentor programs, but a specific trial hunter program, there's not a lot. And so it is pretty unique for Utah to do that and allow people like yourself to, kind of, and that's kind of the way I look at it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but, kind of test the waters a little bit to see if this is something that you really are going to enjoy and really kind of invest in before you actually have to invest in it.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I think that's the beauty of it is, you want to try it out, go try it out, put in for trial hunter. And then if you really want to try it, then, you can go through your hunter safety, because let's face it, as an adult, one of the reasons I didn't want to take hunter safety is because I was an adult and I knew I was going to be in there with a bunch of 10-year-olds that were going to be staring at me like, where's your kid? Like, why are you in here?
Was that, when you did your hunter safety, was that a little weird?
So I did do my hunter safety, and at the time I was actually able to take it online, but then I did have to go to an in-person day, and that was a little weird because, everybody was kind of staring at me. Like I said, like, where's your kid?
Yeah.
And then you go up to shoot the 22s, to show your marksmanship or whatever, and your gun safety, and I walk up to the line and I look down the line and just a whole bunch of 10 and 11-year-olds standing there next to me, and I was like, okay, well, let's get this over with so I don't have to stand here awkwardly anymore.
What's funny though is I remember that day that I did my shooting test for my hunter education course, and like seriously, like exactly like it was yesterday. I can still remember where it was at, the gun, the shots, everything. And the majority of us were young kids, but not gonna lie, even when I took it in rural Utah, where most people start shooting a gun when we're 2, there were still people that were in my class, well, they really weren't in my class. It was kind of a little bit different. They didn't attend the class with us, like that was all just as kids. But when it came time to actually go shoot, I had 3 people on the line shooting that had to have been, of course they all looked really old to me because I was a little kid, but they
as a kid everybody was.
Yeah, exactly, but they had to have been 20 plus years old, and so which is cool. I'm sure they felt like it was definitely awkward, but for me as a kid, I'm like, that's cool that they're, doesn't matter when you do it, as long as you get that and start down that lifelong passion of hunting. That's kind of where you get it kicked off there.
No, absolutely. And that's just it. It doesn't matter what age it is. Give it a try.
Yep.
And you can watch all the videos you want, and you can read all the articles you want, but until you go out and do it, you still really don't know what it's like, and you don't really appreciate, the work that goes into it until you can go do it.
And amen to that. There's a lot of work, you watch hunting videos on TV, like you were saying, especially like Steve Rinella and all those, and it looks kind of tough, but you're sitting on your couch where it's 72 degrees, and you got a piece of pizza there or whatever, watching it, but until you actually do it, it's a little bit different watching it on TV and then actually doing it, as you probably learned since you started.
Oh definitely. Like, it is. even when you watch the videos when they don't get success or something, like you really don't understand. You're just like, oh well, whatever. They have to show you that, but it's like once you've done it, you're like, oh man, like they're lucky to actually film it on camera, like, and
Yeah,
actually them getting something. And
that's
and
a
yeah,
that's a
kind
good.
of on that topic. Oh, sorry, I just was thinking, Tom Miranda the other day. I follow him on social media, and the other day he was talking about getting his big game super slam for North America, and for the 29 species I think it is
Uh
that,
huh.
that get you the super slam.
Yeah.
He went on 54 hunts to get 29,
Wow.
and so I mean, yeah, I mean it's work,
It is.
and just because I mean, I ate tag soup this last year. I
Doesn't
was
taste
bound
very
and
good, does
determined
it?
I was never getting it. When, man, that was a humbling experience.
Oh man. If you get into hunting, you're gonna know what tag soup tastes like. That's just it's inevitable. I mean, even like like him. I mean, he's a not professional hunter. Well, yeah, basically, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
these guys that hunt for a living or hunt majority of their life, they don't harvest something every time, and that's okay. As you get
yeah,
into it, it's okay to start being a little bit picky as you get going forward. If you got meat in the freezer and got a few harvests under your belt, it's okay to, all right, well, now I'm going to look for, this is what I want, and it's different
yeah,
for everybody. Some people, whatever, hunting a mule deer, they want a 200-inch deer, and that's all they're going to do. But,
yeah,
for other people, it's, hey, I just want I want a good solid 4 point. And that's what I'm going to hold out for, is a good solid 4 point mule deer or whatever. So you kind of have to find your niche and be okay with eating tag soup once in a while.
yeah. Well, and and I think, just like you're saying though, it's such a learning experience too. And I think, I learned so much just this past season, um, of how to better myself as a hunter, and how to be more prepared, and just different things that happened this last year that, I think it's good. I think everybody needs to go through that hunts, and learn what it's like to have a crappy, you know, I guess crappy defined as non-successful,
Hmm.
but it's something, even a bad hunt, is, you come back off the mountain or wherever it is, and you're like, man, that was fun. Like, that was awesome. I need to go again.
It it's funny because this is not about me. This is about you. But that's a great point because last year elk hunting in Colorado, when I walked off that mountain, my feet were so sore, my body ached everywhere. I was just done. Like I was literally just tuckered out, for lack of better words. And we got everything loaded in the truck and drove home. And I remember my buddy Chad, he dropped me off at my house. I got in bed that night. I showered and got in bed, and I thought I could wake up tomorrow and go do that all over again. So there's something wrong with us. And the
Oh
only
yeah.
thing I can compare that to is a woman giving birth to a child, because you think they do that once and they learn their lesson not to ever do it again, but then they have the second and third and fourth whatever children. And
Yeah.
hunting's the same way. We go back. We're just
Yep.
glutton for punishment, I guess.
Oh yeah. For some reason, we love the pain.
Yep.
You know.
Yep, exactly. We're idiots. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Hey, so tell me about your first harvest. I think that's what most of the questions and interest in this article. Everybody, they wanted more detail on your first harvest and how the whole thing went. So would you mind sharing that story with us all?
No, absolutely. So in some ways, it's a relatively short story, because I was lucky enough to harvest it on the evening of opening day.
That's right.
Um, and so my wife still kind of gets mad at me for this. So this was my very first rifle hunt. Um, we were up in the mountains, and my wife was also pregnant at the time, and not just like a little pregnant. Like, our kid was due in like 4 months, I think, 5 months.
Ooh, ooh.
So she was fairly far along, and I kept telling myself, like, okay, like, she can't take any time off work. She's like super pregnant. She's basically only going to be able to hunt on the weekend. I'll let her get the first crack at a deer. Well, evidence of the picture says otherwise.
Yeah.
um, so we'd been out all day, and we'd kind of split up in the morning. And I hiked this top end of a bowl, and she was down in the bottom with my father-in-law, and just kind of moseying along, and they saw a handful of does. I saw, I think, 2 does right as I was coming back to the truck. Just really wasn't seeing anything at all that day. And so we were just kind of like, all right, well, my wife, she couldn't really hike anymore. Like, she was done. And so we were like, okay, well, we'll just go on this dirt road and we'll kind of road hunt and just happen, if we happen to see something, we'll see something. And so we're driving along a road, and we're not seeing anything but people. I mean, and there were so many people. It was like we were driving on the highway, just lines of trucks and ATVs and all kinds of things. And we just happened to pull over to the side of the road to let a bunch of these vehicles pass us. And my father-in-law looks down this steep hill and says, "Hey, there's a little buck down there." And I said, "What? A buck?" I was sitting in the bed of the truck. My wife was in the cab. And before my wife could even get out of the cab of the truck, I'd already hopped out of the bed of the truck and was about halfway down the hill to the deer. And so I'd shot, and when we had sighted in my rifle, I can't remember, something had happened, and so it wasn't 100% zeroed in. And so it was just off a little bit. So I shot, and I ended up shooting the deer high in right in the spine, but it was far back, basically in front of its rear legs. Shot it in the spine. So I dropped it, and I was like, yes, like I got a deer, and I was so stoked. And then all of a sudden its front legs stand up and it starts running away on its front 2 legs. And
oh my gosh.
This all happened, like I said, my wife was basically still getting out of the truck all of this time, and just standing there like, you didn't even let me get a chance at it. But yeah, we were on 2 legs, it didn't get too far away, but I was able to get down to it and harvest it. And it was kind of funny. My younger brother, who actually I got into hunting because I started hunting, he started hunting now as well.
Good.
But he was with me on that trip, and he's a butcher by trade. And I will tell you what, it was the funniest thing watching him as I was gutting that deer with my father-in-law, and I'm sticking my hands in it and pulling the guts out and things, and he was just standing there like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. Oh, I can't. I'm like, yeah, don't you do this for a living?
He just does the meat. He doesn't do the guts.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't do this part of it.
Yeah, that's 2 different smells right there. The smell of meat and the smell of guts, man. That's
Yeah, definitely. But it was an awesome experience though. And I mean, I do wish, in hindsight, I should have let my wife shoot it, and different things, and she ended up not getting one that year. But it was an awesome experience. And even the drag out, I mean, it was a steep embankment. You can't really tell from the picture, but I mean, we were probably 1,000, maybe 1,500 yards off the road, and I mean, it felt like we were going straight up. And he was just a 2-point, but I'll tell you what, he had a big body, and that he made us earn him, that's for sure. So pulling him back up to the truck.
They do that. They always make it hard on you. They never run down to the truck, or up to the truck, I guess, in this situation. I wish they would figure that part out. For some reason,
they always want to go away from you.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. If they just make it a little bit easier on us, going back to this whole thing of this is hard. Yeah, it's hard. And once you shoot the animal, that's when the real work begins. That's man.
Definitely.
Did you have venison or wild game prior to this? Had you eaten it before?
So I had eaten it, but not much of it. So I'd had deer and elk jerky several times before. Always loved that. Always thought that was good. I'd had elk burger a few times. People had made me elk burger a few times.
Nice.
But other than that, I really hadn't eaten it too much.
Oh man.
Um, but I will tell you what, like venison, there is nothing so far that we have not put venison in that I wouldn't put hamburger in.
Right. Right. That's what I tell
It
people
is,
all the
it
time.
is, it is good.
Oh
I
man.
like that deer right there. That was a good eating deer. Like after eating it, like the first time, I was like, I don't understand why people say they don't like this. Like,
Yeah.
how do people say this is gamey? Like, what does that even mean? This tastes so good. Like, it tastes just as good as beef. Like, it's just what are people's issues with it?
Yeah. I think it's better. Honestly, that is it's so lean. Which I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of big, like fatty, gristly
Right.
meat, which beef usually is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a
Yeah.
beef steak. Don't get me wrong. But
Oh yeah.
if I had them both sitting in front of me and I had to pick, oh, I'd take the venison steak or elk steak any day before I take a beef steak. I'm with you, man. The taste of it is so dang good, and you're right. You can use it for everything. I can't tell you. Like me and my family, we never buy beef. I mean, I grind up a lot. Like I shot my elk last year in Colorado. I ground a lot of that up. My deer, I ground up a lot. So like when we're making hamburgers, we just do it with wild game and
Oh yeah.
tacos and whatever else. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And that's something we've done a lot is we'll do venison tacos or and we did venison lasagna. We've done
Oh
like
man.
venison spaghetti, like
Yep.
really anything that I think we could put ground beef in. I think we've put venison in, and it's good.
Heck
I
yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Yeah, you can't beat it, man. You just cannot beat it. And for those people that are listening, if there are people listening that haven't had it, game changer, man. Absolute life
Oh yeah,
changer right there. And
definitely.
you feel like a bit of a bad A, a stud when you're putting meat in the freezer for your family. Feel like you're actually providing for your family, so that's kind of cool too.
And I agree, and that's another thing that really got me into hunting, or a reason why I wanted to hunt is, I wanted, I guess you could say, that connection with my food.
Yep.
Like you go and buy a pound of ground beef at the store, you have no idea where that thing's been.
Exactly.
And I mean that, like, honestly. Like, I remember even in high school health class, we had to watch some documentary about, I don't even know why, but about beef or something, and they were showing us all this secret camera footage of these slaughterhouses and beef falling on the floor of manure, and they just kind of hose it off or wipe it down and send it on down the line. And
Ugh.
no, like that deer, like from the moment it was down, like to the moment it was in my freezer, like I knew exactly where it was. I knew exactly what had happened to it.
Yep.
I knew whose hands had been on it. If it was going to be screwed up, it was going to be my fault. And yeah, it's kind of cool, like you're saying though, to have that connection, and you're eating something and be like, man, like I worked for this, like I did this, I hiked my butt off to get this and worked for it.
Well, that's life, honestly, Logan. I think about life and finding meaning really in everything. I'm a spiritual, religious person, and finding meaning in everything as much as I can. But food's the same way. I do a lot of travel for work, and stop at Wendy's and grab a burger. That's meaningless. That
Yeah.
burger is just it's a means to an end to satisfy a little bit of hunger is all that's for. But man, when I sit down with my family to, yeah, a venison steak or meat that I've harvested and put in the freezer, again, it's a game changer. You find meaning in your life and in your food, and well, you find meaning in your food, which helps you find meaning in your life. And people just don't understand it until they finally get in and actually do it, and then I'm sure most people listening to this podcast know what we're talking about, and they're like, oh yeah, they're nodding their head right now, like, yep, I know exactly what these boys are talking about.
Yeah.
But those poor people that haven't, I spent a lot of time in Denver, Colorado, and I know there's a lot of people in that city that have no idea what we're talking about. Food is just a means to an end
Oh,
to
absolutely.
satisfy hunger, but it can be so much more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it kind of makes me laugh. We as hunters, we kind of get this negative connotation, that, oh, you're just a trophy hunter. Well, just because it's a big animal doesn't mean we're not eating it.
Exactly.
Like, and for some reason, I can't remember who did the study, but there was actually a study a few years ago, and um, they asked people two questions. They said, "Are you okay with hunting for meat?" And like 98% of people were like, "Absolutely! Like we support people that hunt for meat." And then they asked, "Do you support trophy hunting?" And it was only something like 40% supported it.
Wow.
And they're like, "It's the same thing." Like,
It is the same thing.
you just because, like you said, you got those guys that they want that 200-inch deer. Well, just because they're getting that 200-inch deer doesn't mean that they're not going to take that home with them. It's that
Exactly.
deer is going to be feeding their family just like my little 2 point did.
Yep.
It's just they're just choosing because if they're going to work for it, they're wanting to let people know and see what they worked for.
A trophy is in the eye of the beholder, and my thought of a
Yeah.
trophy changes year to year. If I don't have meat in the freezer, um, then a cow elk is a trophy to me because that's a lot of meat that I can put in the freezer for my family. If my freezer is completely full,
Absolutely.
I'm probably not going to hunt cow elk. I'm probably going to, hunt either big bull or deer, a buck tag, and I'm probably going to be pretty
Yep.
picky about what I'm hunting. If I shoot a deer that, the deer that in the class that I want, guess what? It's going in my freezer, and I'm just as happy about it as I am that cow elk that I put, fill the freezer with. So,
Yeah.
exactly. I think it's in the eye of the beholder, and a trophy is something different for everybody, and can change too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you and I both know Jeff Barlow, and that's kind of the mindset that he and his boys have taken on now. They've been hunting for a long time, and they've got some meat built up in the freezer, so now it's all right. Let's start looking for a bigger animal.
Hmm.
Let's start looking. Let's start being more picky about things, and where I'm just kind of starting out for me, it's still like, yeah, would one of those big bucks on the mountain be cool? Absolutely, but I'm not gonna hold out for one just to say that I got a big one. It's about providing for my family and the experience.
Exactly. Enjoying that experience. And you know what? You should be very proud of yourself, Logan. Honestly, a lot of people, their first kill is a spike deer that they went down to the, local farm hayfield and shot it out of the farm. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. Those guys that do that, that's getting, your feet wet into the hunting. But for you to be on the mountain, hiking down the mountain to go shoot this, a good 2 point, and going through the work of hauling that animal out. I mean, kudos to you. That's an awesome first experience, and I think you should relish that, honestly.
No, I appreciate it. And like I said, my wife, she'll still give me crap to this day, and I'm sure after I'm done talking to you, I'm sure I'm going to hear about it. So,
As she should. She should
but
give you so much crap about it, and let us know if we can help in any way with that process.
I agree.
If we need
Well,
to send her something from Vortex to make to smooth things over, we can do that.
definitely that might help ease the pain a little bit, I think.
We might have to chat afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you go because I know that you got things to go and do.
No, for sure.
So my first question is: so you had your hunt and you've had this experience. What would be some advice that you would give to people that are adults that are starting to get into hunting? Now that you've experienced that, you've harvested an animal. What's your recommendations or suggestions? Maybe a couple of things that you would recommend them to do.
I think, one of the first things is if you're just getting into it, I wrote another article on eHunter about finding a good mentor. Um, and that's been key for me is having people that I can ask questions to. Not even somebody that necessarily goes out with me every time I go out, but just somebody that I can talk to and say, hey, like, I was thinking of trying, this area to go look for deer. Do you think I would have success? Or, what do you think I should pack with me? Or, what kind of things have you learned? That's been one of the biggest things for me, is just being able to ask people questions, whether that's my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, Jeff, I ask a lot of questions to. But I think to start, I think that's the biggest thing. Find somebody or even multiple people that you can ask questions to, just to get a good basis. Like I said in that article, I mean, maybe I'm a little unorthodox, but I'll get on YouTube and I'll watch guys that are hunting out west. I'll read up on books. I'll get on online forums and blogs and things, and just to get an idea of, what I'm wanting to go after, and where I need to look. Because growing up, we always saw deer all the time in the winter on the mountain, just above my house. But it was never a thought at the time, like, oh, that's their wintering habitat. Like, I should, don't go there in the archery hunt because they won't be there, kind of a thing. It's those kind of questions. You don't want to be going out and hanging out on winter range for a week-long hunt, not seeing anything. You need to know where they're at and where they're at what time of year, and just learn from what people can teach you. I also said in that article, it's important for me to forget what I think I know. There's been several instances where I think I know what I'm doing, and I'm definitely proven that that's the opposite when I'm hunting.
That's actually, both those things are really good advice for any hunter, to be honest with you, Logan. I mean, I have my hunt mentors right now. I lost one of my great ones with my father-in-law last couple of years, but I still have those people that I'll call and say, hey, what do you think about this? Where should I go? And some of them are older than me, some of them are younger than me, and that's okay. You need to have that community. That's what how I look at it, as a community. And most people in this, I'm not going to call it a sport, whatever we call this, hobby, whatever, most people are willing to be that person and help out in any way they can. There's a few of those guys that are, they won't do it, but most people are willing to help. And very good point on, understanding what you don't know, because it's a whole new world. The only thing I can really compare it to, I mean, I'm still learning things in hunting, but one thing I can really compare it to is golf. So I just picked up golf in the last couple of years, and I thought, hey, I played baseball my whole life. I can pick up golf and play golf. But man, once I really accepted the fact that I really don't know jack about golf and how to play this game, that's when I finally started learning how to play the game and started scoring so much better. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. So
and it definitely helps, for sure, because especially when you have like those bad experiences, where you're not successful, or you screw up a stock or something, you can go back and say, hey, this is what I was doing. Like, what do you think I could have done differently? And I think that's really helped me out a lot too.
Yeah. You sound like a very humble person, and I think that helps you a lot. You'd have to be humble coming into hunting as an adult, because I mean, it works us that have been doing it for 20 years, 30 years, or in my dad's case, 50 years. It still works us all over, and but you got to be humble in this whole thing, and understand that there's different ways to do things, and take advice from anybody that you can get advice from.
Yep, and absolutely. And some of that advice may be repetitive. Some of it may be so off the wall that you're never going to try it. But I think the majority of it is going to be stuff that's beneficial to anybody that's new into hunting, or anybody that's hunted for their whole life. You can never learn too much.
Exactly.
And I think that's key.
Yep, definitely. Great point. I love that point. I appreciate you saying that. Hey, the last thing I'm going to ask you, and I'll get you out of here on this, is what's next, man? What's the plans? What are we going to be doing 2021 for hunting and going forward? What are your goals?
Okay, I'm so stoked for this. So last year, like I said, I ate tag soup. in a really weird way. I'll just tell you quickly. Technically, I shot a deer and it was down, and I watched it lay there motionless for 20 minutes before I stood up to walk to it, and it jumped up and ran away, and I never found it.
Oh, that'll rip your heart out right there.
Yes, and honestly, it is still haunting me. It is like
Oh,
every day I sit there and I'm like, I just need to go back on that mountain and just see if I can find it. Just did I miss it somewhere, or is it still hopping around? So that haunted me pretty bad. But since I figured, I drew last year, I figured that there was going to be next to no chance of drawing this year for a tag, which I was right. So I didn't draw a deer tag this year, but I finally put in for a black bear tag for the first time this year, and I was lucky enough to draw one.
oh man, you bugger.
And I am so excited to hunt black bear this fall. September 29th cannot come fast enough. Like I am itching to get out there and hunt black bears.
Dude, you are gonna love hunting black bears. That is so much fun to get out there and hunt those things. I mean, one, they're just cool. Bears are just cool. I don't care who you are; they are cool and
Absolutely.
unique to hunt. But the way in which you hunt is so much different than other animals. And dude, you're gonna be in heaven.
I cannot tell you how excited I am to draw, and I put in this year because everybody I've talked to that hunts them is like, oh yeah, you're looking at 5, 6, 7 years before you draw a tag,
Right.
and and again, starting as an adult, I want to get out there. I want to, I really want to hunt a moose. I love moose. I have the most respect for moose, and I really want to hunt a moose. And so all these other species, as starting as an adult, well, especially when they're once in a lifetime or limited entry hunts, it takes a lot of points to be able to hunt one of those. And so that's why I put in for bear. I was like, okay, well, here I am, I'm in my 30s. Like if I'm going to, if it's going to be another 7 years before I get a bear, like I better start putting in. And so I put in for a bear this year, and just kind of joking with my wife one day, I texted her and I was like, hey, you should check my bank account and see if I drew a bear tag or not. And she didn't realize I'd put in for a bear because, I figured, well, why tell her I'm not going to draw out, there's
Right.
no need to get her worried about it. And then she's like, what's this charge from the Utah DWR?
No
For
way.
$83, and I said, that's my bear. I drew out my bear tag.
You probably better not repeat what she said after that.
I wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
Good.
But
Well, congratulations, dude. That is so cool, and I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see just the stories, the pictures, hopefully we can get an article written about that, because I know people would love to hear about that story and that experience. People are reading this up.
definitely.
I mean, people are loving what you're doing, and it's cool that you're willing to share it with everybody, because it is pretty unique. In fact, I posted a thing on TikTok about most of us are we started hunting when we were kids. Our dads or our grandpas got us into it. So there's not a ton of people out there that started hunting as an adult. So you're kind of unique, and people love that.
No, and that's something that I wanted to take on and share with people, because I know there's other people out there, like you're saying, that they want to do it, but either they tried asking somebody and they just happened to get that 1% of jerk that decided, I'm not going to teach you anything, get off my mountain,
Yep.
stay out of my public land, kind of a thing.
Yep.
But I want to be out there and showing people, hey, like this is what we do as hunters. This is who we are. We're good people, and I want to share that message and teach people that want to try those things too. Like I mentioned, my younger brother started hunting because I started hunting, and then he started asking, well, how do I start? And explained, well, hey, I did the trial hunting program, I did this, and he was able to take hunter safety right away and do that. But that he's been able to harvest a deer now because of it. And it's awesome, and I love seeing that, and I want to see other people, do things that I enjoy and find enjoyment in them as well.
Oh man, I'm excited to see you be a hunt mentor going forward too. I think you'll be able to really help a lot of people get into the world that is hunting, and be a good person that people can lean on and ask questions to. And I love having you part of the eHunter group, because you're such a big asset to us. Your articles are amazing that you're putting up on the website, and then as people get into this and have questions, there's things that Seth and myself can't answer, and so we'll lean on you to answer some of those things and give advice. And so I'm excited what the future holds for you. And man, I'm really excited for you to go bear hunting. You're gonna be, like I said, you're gonna be in heaven. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm loving eHunter, and and anything that I can write and answer questions for people, I'm all about it, man. Like, and I've still got thousands of questions that run through my head and everything. And like I said, you just got to ask. And for people listening, like, just ask us questions. That's how you learn. You learn from the good experiences as well as the bad experiences, and it's all part of it.
Yep, absolutely. Before I let you go, Logan, if people did want to ask you a question, what would be the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Either commenting on eHunter would be one way, or they can even reach out to my email. I don't know. Is that something we share on podcasts? We share our emails on
absolutely.
Podcasts?
If you want to share like social media handles that maybe people can reach out that way, or email, whatever the best way to contact you, because I'm sure I know there are people that have questions. So whatever the best way for you, or the way that you want them to contact you, yeah, let them know.
Oh, for sure. If you can find me on Facebook, That'd be a good way to find me. So Logan Bullough is just simple enough. Last name is spelled Bullough. So you can message me on there, hit me up on Facebook on there.
Nice. Reach out to him, guys, if you guys have questions, especially if you're thinking about getting into hunting and you're listening to these podcasts, or you're new into it and have questions, or you've been in it for a long time and you're like, all right, well, I still have this question. I mean, yeah, reach out, ask questions. Let's just build this community and this network. And if nothing else, hey, if you just want to reach out and say, hey, Logan, welcome to the team, welcome to the club, kind of a thing, I'm sure you probably wouldn't mind that either, would you, Logan?
No, definitely. And any advice you got for hunting black bears, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, heck yeah. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much again for being willing to do this. Welcome to the world that is hunting, and I appreciate all that you're doing for eHunter. Appreciate all you're doing for the hunting industry. Look forward to all your future content that you have coming out, and I'm pretty positive this won't be our last podcast together. I'm sure I'll have you back on in the near future, because you're the one putting a lot of these articles out, and kind of makes you the expert of that subject matter. So hopefully we'll have you on here again pretty soon. So cool. All right, sir. Well, I will let you go. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Taryn. I appreciate it.